Yo, it's Aaron Shelby.
Greetings, class. My name is Holden Bell.
Hey, this is Giovanni Benavente.
And today we will be covering Chapter 1. This is Geography. Key Issue 1. Why is geography a science? Care to elaborate, Mr. Holden Bell?
Geography is considered a science because it employs a specific approach to understanding the Earth's emphasis on space, place, and connection. Geographers use maps and specific concepts to understand why every place on Earth is unique. A key concept is that a place is a specific point on Earth with unique characteristics. To explain why different locations are interrelated, geographers have three basic concepts. Scale is the relationship between a portion of Earth being studied and Earth as a whole. Space refers to physical gap or interval between two objects. Connection refers to relationships among people and objects across the barrier of space. Smartphones, tablets, and computers are equipped with Global Positioning System, also known as GPS, which is a system that determines the precise position of something on Earth. Having the system helps us pinpoint certain locations. Geography in the ancient world highlights early contribution from ancient civilizations. Geography's revival describes the revival of geography after the fall of the European Empire. Adventures Al-Idrisi and Ibn Battuta as influential Arab geographers during the age of exploration, European map-making improved significantly. Waldseemüller Mueller created a map named America for the first time, and interpreting maps, geographers can create a wide variety of maps. The most suitable variety of maps depend on the type of data to be displayed. VGI stands for Volunteer Geographic Information, and is the creation and discrimination of geographic data contributed voluntarily and for the free by individuals. Mapping explains how maps have evolved from simple reference tools to complex tools. For analysis and communication, mapping can be used as a reference tool. A map helps us to find the shortest route between two places and to avoid getting lost along the way. Mapping can also be used as a communications tool. A map is often the best means for depicting the distribution of human activities or physical features. Types of maps can represent the distribution of data for one or more variables in a variety of ways, like an isoline map, and that connects with lines and all places that have particular values. A dot distribution map, and that depicts the data as points and shows us how points are clustered together or spread out over an area. A graduated symbol map displays symbols that change in size according to the value of the variable. A cartogram map is a map in which the size of a country or U.S. state is proportional to the value of a particular variable, such as the amount of corn produced rather than the actual land area. The scientific method of transferring locations on the Earth's surface to a flat map is called projection. Map scale has three factors: ratio, written, and graphic. Ratio, or fraction, shows the numerical relationships between the distances on the map and Earth's surface. Written is a written scale, describes the relationship between an Earth in words. A graphic scale usually consists of a bar line marked to show distance on the Earth's surface. That is all I have to cover for today, and passing it on to the next person.
Key Issue 2. Why is every place unique? Every place on Earth is unique, and geographers study this uniqueness by looking at features like place names, site, and situation. A place name or toponym can reveal cultural or historical information. The site refers to a place's physical characteristics, while situation describes its location relative to others, which can help explain its importance. Regions are also classified in different ways. For example, formal regions share common traits like language or climate. Functional regions are centers around a node, like a TV station, and vernacular regions are based on how people perceive them, like the South and the US. Culture and economics also shape these regions through what people care about, like religion or language, and what they take care of, like food or industry. These elements often overlap, showing patterns. For example, this map shows how areas with lower income also tend to have higher death rates involving overdose on opioids, revealing a strong spatial association that geographers study to understand real-world issues. Key Issue 3. Why are different places similar?
So, the first thing I want to revisit is scale, and the scale of the world is dropping, not in a literal sense, but in a sense culturally. With globalization decimating local cultures, people are trying to preserve their cultures and reviving cultural characteristics. One example of globalization is the diffusion of brands such as Amazon, which brings more generalized goods instead of local ones. Another thing, culture continues to die. With more uniform landscapes of culture, and with pop culture coming into mainstream, it drives many local cultures to extinction. One such thing is transnational corporations. They often set the benchmark for this, and they diffuse exponentially. And one thing I want to introduce is spatial distribution. That is density, concentration, and pattern. So density is the amount of something in space, while concentration is the space between things, and pattern is a geometric arrangement in space. Now, another thing is inequality. Global communication plays an important role in the spread of ideas, especially in the modern world, removing barriers for distant people. While many people have access to the internet, some are limited. Some need a subscription, a cable line, or other services to access the internet, which, obviously, leaves some people out. Another thing to note is that the global economy is mainly centered in the core regions of North America, Europe, and East Asia. They possess much of the world's wealth and technology. This leads to unequal distribution in the periphery or the less developed countries. Geographic thought, a very important definition to understand AP Human Geography. We have humanistic geography, the way that individuals form ideas about a place. An example is the Castro district in San Francisco, which is primarily dominated by LGBTQ residents, and it also is very thought-provoking, and it revolutionizes what people think about the LGBTQ community. While behavioral geography emphasizes the importance of understanding psychological reasons for human actions, unique spatial patterns are also created from this. Another thing is spatial distribution for gender and sex and cultural identity. As society evolves to create new norms, it leads to stereotypes of beliefs and attitudes. Due to the quote-unquote dominant status of men, they usually earn more money and rights than women. Unfortunately. As for sexual orientation, LGBTQ members are more attracted to places that reinforce their identity. One such area can be the pre-mentioned Castro in San Francisco. Another thing is cultural identity, which race, ethnicity, and class are important elements to a cultural identity. Ethnicity is defined as a tie to a certain place, while race is a social construct based on a physical feature, such as brown skin or a large nose. There are many distributions based on immigration status, ethnic neighborhoods, and concentrations of previous immigrants. For example, the Armenian district in Jerusalem holds a lot of Armenian diasporas. And before we continue, what's a hearth? It's a question that many of you have, and this will be important in later chapters too. And a hearth is a place of innovation, where an idea or thing spreads from. For example, Africa is the hearth of humanity. And a hearth can also diffuse, and there are many types of diffusion. And one of them is relocation diffusion. The spread of an idea through physical movement from one place to another is coined relocation diffusion. This carries multiple political, economic, and environmental ideas through space, and carries an overall culture if you merge all those things together. One example of this is the spread of European languages through colonization, and it remains a big part of this colony's culture to this day. For example, the United States of America is predominantly English. And we have expansion diffusion. Expansion diffusion can happen in three ways. Hierarchical diffusion, and it's diffusion from a higher power. An example is hip-hop, which spread from urban areas to more rural areas, and urban areas are more seen as dominant, while contagious diffusion has a rapid, widespread diffusion. An example is social media. And the last is stimulus diffusion, an incorporation of other ideas into a diffusion. An example is McDonald's in India, and since India sees cows as sacred and holy, they can't really use beef, and they change the fit to their dietary needs. Spatial interaction. Many spatial interactions occur through networks. Without networks, many hearths experience distance decay with its colony. Networks help decrease distance decay due to the relative ease of travel and communication. One of these is called hub and spokes, which serve as the middle ground for transportation and help decrease intervals between transportation. Whereas, such as like shipping containers and such, they would take a long time to try and transmit ideas and transmit goods. Assimilation alters a group's cultural features to resemble another group. This can happen with both of the interacting groups. Acculturation is the change in culture that results from two meeting groups. And syncretism is the combining elements of two groups that form a new cultural feature. For example, Dia de los Muertos combines Aztec and Catholic beliefs.
Key issue 4. Why are some actions not sustainable?
Now, we got to start off with sustainability, a definition, and there are 3 pillars identified by geographers: environmental, social, and economic. Environmental. Having sustainable use of the Earth's materials and land is called conservation. Now, conservation differs from preservation. Preservation attempts to keep the things that way humans found it, while conservation sees the materials as a use, but still wants to keep a more healthy use, so as to not damage the Earth. While social constructs, humans tend to have needs, such as food, water, and shelter. But some needs require more strain on the Earth. Consumer choices can support sustainability when people see it as a value. For example, buying something that supports people in other places. For example, like lesser developed countries. For economic, natural resources have value in markets. Supply and demand fluctuates. Geographers observe that some goods don't reflect their environmental costs. Earth has many substances we do not yet have means to extract it yet. Notice how I said yet. Now, we also need to take a look at the Earth's systems, that being the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, lithosphere, and one more I will get into soon. Now, the atmosphere is the gases surrounding the Earth. About 78% of it is nitrogen, and 21% is oxygen. The atmosphere dictates the climate and is responsible for weather features that either help or destroy a group. The hydrosphere accounts for all water in the air and the ground. 97% of the world's water is in oceans, which is a staggering amount. Consuming water is important for all life on Earth. The climate is also affected by the hydrosphere, dictating monsoons, wet seasons, or dry ones. India's monsoons are one of the most brutal in the world. This is also referring to Bangladesh's monsoons, which are also really horrible. In the lithosphere, the crust, inner core, outer core, and mantle of the Earth. The crust is where all life is located, also called the biosphere. Earth's surface ranges from mountains to flatlands, and it also, interestingly, shapes how humans developed and spread ideas. These are shown via topographic maps, and it shows how they developed ideas because of something called possibilism that we will get into soon. Now, the biosphere. The biosphere encompasses all life on Earth and relies on all other systems. For example, all life on Earth needs water from the hydrosphere, and much of the life on Earth needs gases from the atmosphere, including nitrogen for nitrogen fixation, which you probably learned in biology, oxygen for humans, and carbon dioxide for plants to perform photosynthesis. A group of living organisms living and working together is called an ecosystem, as you probably learned in biology. You will see a lot of these ties between this key issue and biology because it just refers to it a lot, and it also helps tie together the ideas of how humans diffused. Environmental determinism refers to how humans will do anything the environment allows them to live in an area. For example, wearing a lot of layers of clothes in a snowy environment. Possibilism refers to how people alter the environment to be more favorable for living in comfort. And really quick examples of ecosystems, one being the Netherlands. The Dutch of the Netherlands have used possibilism to modify their environment. They have constructed dikes and polders to reclaim land from the sea. The Netherlands is prone to flooding, and the Zilde Zee was a big threat to flooding. Dikes were completed in 1932 to prevent flooding. Global warming threatens the Netherlands to this day, which is unfortunate, and my sympathies go out to them. One example of a sustainable ecosystem is Cape Town, South Africa. And up to 2018, the city was seen as sustainable. It was actually a really good example of a sustainable city because of its geographical location, and it also showed how possibilism could work. But since then, the city almost ran out of water in a very dry climate, and it continues to run out of water. Cape Town relied on reservoirs of rainwater to supply the people, but there was a horrible drought in 2018, and the water came to a halt. Since then, desalination and purification is expensive. They had to adjust by handing out waters, and they can't really rely on rainwater at this point because of the increasing global warming. It changes the tides in Earth, and it also changes the rain seasons, which might affect the people of South Africa. And another really important skill that this key issue defines, I think we all know how to do, but we need to revisit it, is how to tell time. Earth is divided into 360 degrees of longitude with 180 degrees latitude. Internationally agreed upon, the Coordinated Universal Time, also called the UTC, is the default time. It falls upon Greenwich. And there is 24 time zones in the 15 degrees. And speaking of the 15 degrees, 15-degree bands are issued in a time zone. At 180 degrees longitude, the international date line is found. This is where the clock moves 24 hours back when you're going west towards America, and vice versa for the east, or going towards Japan. And that's a wrap, folks. Chapter 1 is in the books. So, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. I want to thank Holden and Aaron for doing this video. Aaron for editing it. He's a good man for that. And Holden for doing Key Issue 1. I just want to give a round of applause to them. And it's been good knowing you guys for this journey in AP Human Geography. So, I'll see you guys in AP World Geography if I'm still at Marvis.